Hey guys, welcome back to another video for Alex's Flying Club. I am right now going to be flying a Grumman G-21A Goose. As I mentioned a couple of videos ago, this is a cool little plane, and I thought of a new series that I can do with it. And I'm calling it the Antiquity Tour. Basically, I like ancient history. It's one of my great interests, and I thought, what better way to get a new perspective on it than to use this simulation to kind of do a tour of the Mediterranean area and fly over some of the spots where the great ancient civilizations arose. So this first flight is going to be from Athens to Sparta, and yeah, I'm actually didn't think of flying over Athens city proper to see the Parthenon and everything while I was doing this flight. I was thinking more just to kind of see the countryside of Greece, but since I'll be flying kind of all over the Mediterranean, I'm sure I'll get to do the sighting of the Parthenon at another time. But as it stands, this flight, which I did earlier today, hold on a sec, I'll continue after the ATC communication. So yeah, I did this flight earlier today, and I'm gonna be flying from Athens, or actually just a little outside of Athens from this airport, and I'll be flying into the Peloponnese and gonna be landing at an airport near Sparta. I was kind of surprised at how few airports they have in the Peloponnese, the Peloponnesian Peninsula. And the only airport near Sparta is a military airport, which I thought was kind of fitting given Sparta's history of being a military-oriented civilization or city-state. Okay, so this takeoff here, actually, I had to cut a couple scenes out because I tried to take off twice, and the front of the airplane was scraping the ground. I thought I would spare you guys the sight, but it's still the same flight. It just kind of wobbled over forward on the runway each time. But this takeoff was successful. It's a bit hard to take off in this aircraft because it's a tail dragger. I always forget that it is because the view is actually pretty good outside of the cockpit. Usually in a tail dragger you can't see the runway even right in front of you, but in this aircraft it's really nice that you can. And yeah, the problem was the tail wheel lock. I was having trouble steering the aircraft because I didn't align it properly on the runway. Okay, so we've taken off and we're going to pass over the Piraeus pretty soon, which is kind of almost like a secondary city that historically arose with Athens. It was like Athens port pretty much. And there was a road running from Athens to Piraeus. And there was a whole bunch of other people, mainly merchants and like people related to the commercial side of society that lived in Piraeus during classical antiquity. And it's still a port today.
Athens departure, Grumman, November 48550, is type Grumman Goose, 2 miles southwest of Athens, Venezuela, 2000. Request clearance to transition Bravo airspace. Grumman, November 48550, Athens departure, clock 2214.
So, one of the reasons why I thought this was a nice aircraft for this type of flying, sorry, one sec. I don't like talking over the ATC. Okay. One of the reasons I like this aircraft is because the autopilot works really nicely. I mentioned I really like hand flying general aviation aircraft in my previous video. But if I'm sightseeing and I'm trying to follow locations on a map, and I was looking on a Google Earth map as I was flying, it's convenient to be able to use the autopilot feature. And I pretty much did this flight entirely on autopilot, at least during cruise. It's also really nice because this plane can land on water and on land. It's an amphibian, and also the wing is above rather than below rather than at the level of the fuselage. Like an example of the latter would be like a Piper Cherokee, and such an aircraft isn't as good for sightseeing because you can't see what the wing blocks on the ground. But this aircraft, you got a nice view from the front and sides, so it's good to see out the window. And I did visit Greece in 2006, or was it 2007? I think 2006. And I got to go to some of these places, and we actually did drive from Athens to into the Peloponnese. And doing the Discover USA series that I was doing earlier this year, it's kind of cool to see how to compare the size, of these different locations. By the way, that's Piraeus with the boats. I believe that's Piraeus. I had a hard time aligning, what I was seeing on Google Earth with what scenery the flight simulator was generating, but I'm pretty sure those ships indicate the great port of Piraeus. So, as I was saying, we drove through some of these areas, and the Greek countryside. Doing this flight reminds me of the Greek countryside. And there you see like a road here that reminded me of the route we took on our tour bus. Maybe that's even the same road that we took. But the landscape, kind of when you're entering the Peloponnese, you see farmland around, but interspersed through like all these hills and little rocky elevations. And this isn't the best land for farming, which affected the Greek society in ancient times. But they could, wherever you could get a plot of land and plant like an olive, plant olive trees or any other kind of crops, they'd really use it efficiently because there wasn't a lot of good land to go around in this area. So surprisingly, there's really not a lot of lakes in the Peloponnese, at least in this northern part that I'm flying through. There was one up ahead, but looking at Google Earth, the only thing I could find that corresponded to that was what looked to be an artificial lake to me. It had like a road all around it, and it was shaped kind of in an odd, almost unnatural way. So since it was also kind of small, I decided not to land there. I did want to just land because I just love landing this thing on water. So I'm going to turn to the south and make a little detour here, and we're going to land next to the city of Argos. I did fly over Argos, and I couldn't see any distinguishing features. It just looked like kind of auto-gen scenery. So I didn't leave that part in the film. But I did do a landing here in this little waterway. I'm a little fast here on the approach. You want to be at 90 miles an hour for your approach and landing in this aircraft.
Pacifica 90166, descend and maintain 13,000. Descend and maintain 13,000. Pacifica 90166.
So I'm going to take a drink of water here. This sight of this lake is making me thirsty. And what I'll try to do after I land is something I read about from an article a former DC-3 pilot wrote, that he was saying how when they made a quick stop somewhere, they turn off one of the engine on the side of the cabin door, so that the passengers can exit and a new group of passengers can board. The idea was, you don't want the propeller spinning; it's dangerous, and it's also blowing a lot of wind, generating a lot of airflow, I guess, into the side where the passengers are leaving. So I tried to do that here, but unfortunately, in FSX, you could only get one door to open in the cabin. It looked like there was one on the other side, and I tried to open it. So I shut down the right engine, but I couldn't open a door on the right side. So next time I'll know to shut off the left engine to do my simulated stop.
Pacifica Niner 166, turn right, heading 065. Turn right, heading 065.
There we go. That's the only door that opens in this aircraft as it's simulated. I've got it crisscrossed, but it's okay. And how fun would it be to own one of these aircraft, like a Turbo Goose, the turbo modified version, and that's made by Antilles. I don't know how to pronounce that company name, but anyways, they actually build the airframe and put modern engines into their Super Goose, and you can get one of these for about $3 or $4 million. And how cool would it be to just fly around the Mediterranean in one of these aircraft? Just go anywhere you want, fly over anywhere you want, land and see what you'd like to see. There's kind of no limits here. It's kind of a nice daydream that I have. But for about $40, you can do the same thing in Microsoft Flight Simulator X. It's kind of a shame that they don't have. I couldn't find a good payware scenery, or even a good kind of well-regarded freeware scenery for Greece. They have a lot of good like airports, like Thessaloniki by, I believe, Aerosoft is very highly regarded, and should post a link to that below. So yeah, but there's no scenery for all of Greece, but it's still kind of nice. The auto-generated scenery, I think, gives you at least the impression of the countryside and the landscape and what the civilizations had to the ancients had to cultivate and live around. So here's the airport, the Sparta military airport, and I did have to circle around this little plane, this large plane here, for a bit because I didn't spot it initially. Like a minute ago, I was showing like a zoom-in view, and I couldn't see the airport, but then I did see it, and here I'm coming into land, of course with my gear down since it's going to be on pavement this time, and the wing floats up. It's kind of nice that you can raise those, the wing floats. This wasn't a bad landing, all things told. I think I'm getting a little bit better at my landings. It was a little on the slow side. I almost pancaked the aircraft. And I missed the second taxiway. So I did go to the end of the runway, turn around, and come back to taxi. So that's going to be the end of this flight as we kind of finish up here and pull into our parking space. I think the next one in the series, I'll try to kind of start from the airport I left off at. So I'll start the next flight from Sparta and do a flight to probably the Greek islands. I think it would be really cool to land around Santorini and just kind of see the volcano near that island. That was one of the places I visited, and also Crete I visited. I wonder if you could see the Minoan Palace from the air. I'll have to check that out. So in these last couple minutes here, I'm just gonna park and do a quick shutdown procedure, do an exterior view as I always do of the aircraft, and I want to thank you guys again for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.